Good evening, and welcome to Boring History for Sleep. Tonight, you don't need to stay awake. You don't need to remember names or dates. Just get comfortable, let your breathing slow, and allow the story to gently pass by. In this episode, we'll spend a peaceful day in medieval England, moving slowly from dawn to night. There are no battles here, no kings, no drama, and no urgency. Only the quiet rhythm of ordinary life, lived hour by hour. As you listen, imagine soft morning mist over green fields, the distant sound of church bells, and the calm routines of villagers going about their day. If your mind begins to wander, that's perfectly fine. If you fall asleep, that's even better. Now, settle in, and let's begin our calm day in medieval England. The day begins quietly in medieval England. Before the sun even peeks over the horizon, the land is already stirring. A thick mist rests gently on the rolling green fields, clinging to the wooden fences that crisscross the landscape. In the pale pre-dawn light, a flock of sheep grazes peacefully, their woolly coats damp with dew. The sky is a soft canvas of pale blue and gray, and the air is cool, still, and filled with the earthy scent of damp soil. This is a world guided not by the ticking of a clock, but by the natural rhythms of daylight and the changing seasons. Life here is tied to the land, a simple yet demanding existence that starts long before the first rays of sunlight break through the morning haze. In the heart of the village, the first signs of human activity begin to appear. Smoke, thin and wispy, starts to curl from the thatched roofs of the small Wattoland daub houses. These aren't grand castles, but humble homes for the farmers and laborers who make up the backbone of this community. Inside one of these cottages, a family is already awake. A mother tends to a small, smoky fire in the central hearth, its flickering light casting long shadows across the single, earth-floored room. The air is thick with the smell of wood smoke and a simple porridge simmering in a pot. There's no morning coffee or newspaper here. The day's first task is survival, stoking the fire against the chill, and preparing a meager breakfast to fuel the hard work ahead. The father, a villain who works the Lord's land, is already pulling on his rough woolen tunic and leather shoes. His hands are calloused, his face weathered by sun and wind. He knows every inch of the fields he'll soon be tending. He exchanges a few quiet words with his wife as their children, still sleepy, huddle near the warmth of the fire. There are no grand plans discussed, just the immediate needs of the day: mending a fence, plowing a specific strip of land, or perhaps taking a portion of their grain to the Lord's mill. Their lives are a cycle of duty and obligation, a predictable routine dictated by their social standing and the demands of the agricultural year. For them, each sunrise brings not just light, but a list of chores essential for their families and the village's survival. As the sky begins to lighten, shifting from gray to shades of pink and orange, the village slowly comes to life. The first sounds break the silence, not the roar of traffic, but the crow of a rooster, the lowing of a cow waiting to be milked, the distant bleating of sheep being herded out to pasture. A farmer leads his heavy-limbed ox down a muddy track, the animal's breath misting in the cold air. The squeak of the wooden cartwheels is a familiar sound, a sign that the workday has officially begun. People emerge from their homes, greeting each other with a simple nod or a quiet word. There's a sense of shared purpose, a collective understanding that everyone has a role to play. The baker heads to his oven, the blacksmith to his forge, and the farmers to the open fields that surround their small settlement. Let's step into one of those fields, just as the sun's first golden rays slice through the morning mist. A farmer stands with a scythe, its long curved blade gleaming. He's not just an employee, he's a custodian of this land, even if he doesn't own it. His connection to the soil is profound. He knows its texture, its smell, and which parts are best for growing wheat or barley. The work is backbreaking. He'll spend hours under the sun, swinging this heavy tool, his movements practiced and efficient. This isn't a hobby, it's a relentless, physical struggle to coax a harvest from the earth. Every stalk of grain he cuts is a small victory against hunger, a contribution to the communal store that will see the village through the long, cold winter. Now, let's turn our attention to the women of the village. Their work is just as vital, though often less visible. Inside the cottage, the mother is now churning butter, a rhythmic, repetitive task that requires strength and patience. She also spins wool into thread, mend clothes, tend the small vegetable garden behind the house, and prepare the main meal of the day. Her daughters learn alongside her, grinding grain with a heavy stone quern, fetching water from the village well, and keeping a watchful eye on the younger children and the chickens scratching in the yard. Their domain is the home and its immediate surroundings, a sphere of constant, essential labor that keeps the household running. Without their tireless efforts, the fabric of village life would quickly unravel. Back in the village center, the priest is making his way to the small stone church. As the spiritual heart of the community, the church is the most significant building, its bell tower reaching towards the heavens. The priest's day starts with prayer, a moment of quiet reflection before he tends to the needs of his flock. He's not just a religious leader, he's also an advisor, a record keeper, and often one of the few literate people in the village. The church bell will soon ring, not to call people to a 9-to-5 job, but to mark the hours for prayer prime terse, sext reminding everyone of God's presence in their daily lives. For the villagers, faith isn't separate from work. It's woven into every aspect of their existence, offering comfort, meaning, and a sense of order in a precarious world. By now the sun is fully above the horizon, the mist has burned away, and the day is in full swing. The sounds of labor fill the air. The clang of the blacksmith's hammer striking an anvil rings out, a steady, rhythmic beat. He's repairing a plowshare or forging new horseshoes, his work essential for both farming and transportation. You can feel the heat from his forge, even from a distance. Down the path, the miller is opening the heavy doors to the watermill, the rush of the river turning the great wooden wheel. Farmers will bring their sacks of grain here, and for a portion of the flour, the miller will grind it for them, a service controlled by the lord of the manor. Every sound, every activity is interconnected, part of a complex but fragile ecosystem of survival. Let's imagine the children. They aren't in a classroom. For most, education is practical, not academic. The boys follow their fathers into the fields, learning to plow, to sow, and to handle livestock. They might spend their time scaring birds away from the newly sown crops, a simple but important job. The girls stay closer to home, learning the vast array of domestic skills they'll need as adults. Play is simpler, carved wooden toy, a game of tag in the village green, or chasing after geese. But from a very young age, they understand that they are part of the family's workforce. Their small contributions are expected and necessary, preparing them for a life of hard labor that lies ahead. As the morning progresses, the landscape is a hive of activity. In the vast, open fields, which are divided into long, narrow strips, you see groups of men working together. This is the open field system, a communal approach to agriculture. Each family has been allocated several strips of land, scattered across different fields, to ensure a fair distribution of good and poor soil. They work side by side, their fortunes intertwined. A good harvest for one often means a good harvest for all, just as a blight or a drought affects everyone. This system fosters a deep sense of community and mutual dependence. Your neighbor isn't just someone who lives nearby. He's your partner in the daily struggle for sustenance. Imagine a small village, nestled in a gentle valley, its cottages crowned with thick, golden thatch. As the first light of dawn spills over the distant hills, it paints the sky in soft hues of rose and gold, kissing the dew-covered landscape awake. This is where our journey begins. Smoke, thin and gray, begins to curl from the chimneys, each plume a quiet announcement that a new day has started. These homes are small and simple, crafted from the very earth they stand, upon sturdy wood from the forest, rich clay from the riverbank, and straw from the last harvest. They huddle together, not just for warmth, but for community. Here, families live close, their lives interwoven like the threads of a tapestry. They share the burdens of labor and the simple joys of their daily routine. The air is cool and crisp, carrying the scent of damp earth and burning wood. The mud paths that wind between the cottages glisten with dew, reflecting the nascent light like a network of silver veins. There is no rush here. The morning arrives, as it always has, and as it always will, with a quiet and profound grace. The silence is broken only by the distant crow of a rooster or the soft lowing of cattle, a natural symphony heralding the day. Inside one of these cottages, a family is stirring. The fire in the central hearth, banked with ashes the night before, is coaxed back to life. Its warm glow pushes back the shadows, revealing a single, sparsely furnished room. A rough-hewn table, a few wooden stools, and sleeping pallets stuffed with straw are all they need. Possessions are few but precious, each one serving a purpose, each one telling a story. A woman moves with practiced ease, her hands already busy. She grinds grain into flour with a heavy stone quern, the rhythmic scraping a familiar sound in the quiet house. Soon, the smell of baking bread will fill the small space, a comforting aroma that promises sustenance for the hard work ahead. A child, still sleepy, watches from their pallet, wrapped in a coarse wool blanket. This is how they learn, by watching, by listening, by being part of the gentle, unhurried flow of life. Outside, the men and older boys are preparing for their day in the fields. They check their tools, scythes, sickles, and wooden plows, their surfaces worn smooth by generations of use. Their conversations are low and practical, discussing the weather, the state of the crops, and the tasks that lie ahead. There's a shared understanding, a collective responsibility for the well-being of the village. Their strength is not just in their muscles, but in their unity. The village is a living, breathing organism. Every person has a role, from the youngest child helping to feed the chickens to the oldest elder sharing stories and wisdom. The blacksmith's hammer will soon ring out from his forge, shaping metal with fire and skill. The weaver will sit at her loom, her shuttle flying back and forth, creating cloth that will warm them through the winter. The potter's wheel will spin, turning clay into vessels for food and water. As the sun climbs higher, the dew begins to evaporate, and the village awakens more fully. Children spill out from the cottages, their laughter echoing through the lanes as they invent games with sticks and stones. Their world is this village, its surrounding fields and forests their playground. They learn the names of the plants, the tracks of the animals, and the secrets of the woods. Knowledge passed down through the ages. This way of life is one of deep connection to the land, to the seasons, and to each other. They celebrate the planting and the harvest with festivals, giving thanks for the bounty of the earth. They gather in the evenings to share stories, songs, and news, their faces illuminated by the flickering firelight. In times of hardship, they support one another, sharing what little they have. In times of joy, they rejoice together, their celebrations echoing the bonds that hold them close. Let's pause and soak in this atmosphere. Feel the texture of the rough sawn wood, smell the sweet hay of the thatched roofs, hear the gentle murmur of a community waking up. It's a stark contrast to our modern world, a reminder of a simpler, perhaps more meaningful existence. This isn't just a picturesque scene. It's a testament to human resilience, cooperation, and our enduring relationship with nature. As the morning sun finally breaks free from the horizon, it bathes the entire village in a warm, golden light. The thatched roofs glow, the fields shimmer, and the faces of the villagers are lit with a quiet determination. The day's work has begun, a cycle of effort and reward that has sustained them for centuries. In this timeless village, every sunrise is a promise, a renewal of the simple, profound pact between people and the land they call home. We have many more villages to explore, and many more tales to tell. As the first hint of gray light seeps through the cracks of a wattle daub cottage, life begins to stir. There's no jarring beep, no snooze button to hit. Instead, the wake-up call is the sun itself, a gentle, persistent glow that signals the end of sleep and the start of a new day of toil. Imagine yourself rising not from a soft mattress, but from a bed of packed straw, its faint, earthy scent a constant companion. You're wrapped in a rough wool blanket, your only defense against the night's lingering chill. The air inside the single-room home is thick with the smell of wood smoke and sleeping bodies. Your family is all around you, sharing this small, intimate space. There are no private bedrooms here. Life is lived in common. The floor is packed earth, cool and uneven under your bare feet as you carefully stand up. Your first task of the day isn't scrolling through a phone or turning on the TV, it's survival. You move towards the central hearth, where the embers from last night's fire are glowing faintly. Gently you blow on them, adding small twigs and kindling, coaxing the life-giving flame back. This fire is everything. It's your heat, your light, and your kitchen stove. As the flames flicker and grow, they push back the shadows, revealing the simple, functional world you inhabit. A rough-hewn wooden table stands in the middle of the room, surrounded by a few three-legged stools. Everything is made by hand, from the wooden bowls to the clothes on your back. With the fire rekindled, it's time for the morning's meal. Don't picture a lavish spread. Breakfast is practical, meant to provide energy for the long day of labor ahead. On the table sits what's left of yesterday's bread. It's a dense, dark loaf, perhaps made from rye or barley, and it's now hard and chewy. You tear off a chunk, its texture a workout for your jaw. If you're lucky, there might be a small piece of cheese to go with it, or maybe you'll dip the stale bread into a thin, watery ale. This isn't a social gathering. It's a quick, quiet refueling before heading out to the fields. As you eat, you can hear the village slowly coming to life around you. The lowing of a cow, the crow of a rooster, the distant clang of a blacksmith's hammer. These are the sounds of your world, the soundtrack to your existence. Every member of the family has a role. The children, even the young ones, are expected to help. They might be sent to fetch water from the communal well, a daily chore that involves carrying heavy wooden buckets. Or perhaps they're tasked with feeding the chickens that scratch around in the dirt outside. There's no concept of a carefree childhood as we know it. From a young age, you learn that everyone must contribute to the household's survival. Stepping outside the cottage, the morning air is crisp and clean, tinged with the smells of damp earth, livestock, and wood smoke from neighboring chimneys. The village is a cluster of similar small homes, their thatched roofs still damp with dew. The landscape is dominated not by skyscrapers or paved roads, but by endless fields stretching out to the horizon. These fields are your lifeblood, the source of your food, and your obligation to the local lord. Your entire day, from sunup to sundown, will be spent working that land. You grab your tools, maybe a simple wooden hoe or a heavy scythe. They are worn smooth from years of use, passed down through generations. There's a rhythm to this life, a cycle dictated by the seasons. In the spring, you plow and plant. In the summer, you weed and tend. In the fall, you harvest. And in the winter, you mend tools, weave cloth, and pray you have enough food stored to last until the next harvest. It's a life of relentless hard work, but it's also a life of deep connection to the earth and to your community. As you walk towards the fields, you join a stream of your neighbors, all heading in the same direction. You exchange simple greetings, brief nods. You are all in this together. You share the same struggles, the same fears of a bad harvest or a harsh winter, and the same small joys, a sunny day, a healthy birth, a successful crop. Your identity is tied to this land and this community. You are a farmer, a villager, part of a whole that has existed this way for centuries. The sun is higher now, casting long shadows across the fields. The day's work is about to begin in earnest. You look out over the land that you will work until your muscles ache and the sun begins to set. This isn't just a job, it's your entire world. A world without modern comforts, yes, but also a world with a profound sense of purpose and place, where every sunrise brings with it the simple, undeniable duty to work, to provide, and to survive. And as the day unfolds, the cycle continues, just as it did yesterday, and just as it will tomorrow. Imagine this. You wake up, not to an alarm, but to a gentle metallic chime drifting across misty fields. This sound, for centuries, was the heartbeat of countless communities, a universal language understood by everyone. It was more than just a sound. It was the conductor of daily life. With a practiced pull, a centuries-old tradition is awakened. This isn't just a wake-up call. It's a call to prayer, a signal that a new day of devotion and labor has begun within the cloistered walls of the monastery. For the monks, this first bell, matins, is a sacred summons to gather and offer their first prayers of the day. But the bell's influence extends far beyond the monastery gates. Picture a small village nestled around the stone church. As the sound washes over the thatched roofs, a farmer in a nearby field pauses, removes his hat, and bows his head for a moment of quiet reflection. A baker, already kneading dough by candlelight, notes the time, knowing how many loaves he must prepare before the midday bell. A mother stirs the embers in her hearth, the sound a gentle reminder to wake her children for their morning chores. The bell belongs to everyone. It doesn't just tell time. It synchronizes the entire community, weaving individual lives into a shared, collective rhythm. It's the town's clock, its conscience, and its constant, comforting companion. As the sun climbs higher, the bell rings again. This might be prime, terce, or sext, each marking a different hour of the monastic day. These aren't 60-minute hours like we know them, but divisions of daylight dedicated to specific psalms and duties. For the monks, life is a structured dance of work and worship. One bell might call them from the fields where they tend their crops. Another might signal the time to return to the scriptorium. There, with painstaking care, they copy manuscripts, preserving knowledge for future generations. Every toll of the bell is a transition, a moment to pause one activity and begin another, ensuring that every part of the day is lived with purpose and mindfulness. Now, imagine the sound itself. It's not just noise. The specific blend of copper and tin, the precise thickness of the walls, the shape of the bell's lipple were calculated to produce a tone that was both powerful and pure. On a clear day, its call is a crisp declaration. On a foggy morning, it's a muffled, almost ghostly whisper. This sound becomes part of the landscape, as familiar as the rustle of leaves or the cry of a bird. It's a sound of stability in an often uncertain world. The bell also speaks in different voices. A single, slow, solemn toll might announce a death in the community, a somber sound that prompts a moment of shared grief and prayer. In contrast, a joyous, frantic peal, with multiple bells ringing in a cascading clamor, celebrates a wedding, a military victory, or a great festival. The villagers don't need a town crier to tell them the news. They just need to listen to the bells. They learn to interpret the language of the ringing, its pace, its rhythm, its very character. The bell is the community's emotional barometer, sharing its sorrows and amplifying its joys, uniting everyone in a common experience. As evening approaches, the bell rings for vespers, and then finally, for compline, the last prayer of the day. This final toll is a signal to bank the fires, to secure the doors, and to find rest. It's a gentle bookend to the day, a promise of peace and quiet. The same sound that woke the world now lulls it to sleep. As darkness blankets the land, the bell tower stands as a silent sentinel, a symbol of order and faith, watching over the sleeping village. Its work is done for the day, but its presence is a constant reassurance. Even for those who might not share the faith of the monks, the bell is an undeniable authority. It marks the market day, signals the start and end of the workday in the fields, and warns of approaching danger, like a fire or a raid. You could ignore the priest, but you couldn't ignore the bell. Time itself seemed to emanate from that tower. It was a tangible, audible force that governed the pace of life. But it created a shared sense of time, a collective understanding of the day's structure that was essential for a functioning society. So, the next time you hear a church bell ring, take a moment to think about its rich history. It's more than just a call to worship. It's a reminder that for centuries, the day didn't begin with a digital beep, but with a magnificent, soul-stirring peal that called a whole world to life. As the first rays of sunlight spill across the horizon, the real work of the day begins. This is the time between 6 and 9 in the morning, when the world awakens, not just to the light, but to the hum of labor. For the farmers, this early morning hour is crucial. The ground is still cool from the night, making it easier to work. Out in the vast, open fields, you can see teams of oxen, their powerful muscles straining as they pull heavy wooden plows through the earth. The soil, rich and dark, turns over in thick ribbons, ready to receive the seeds that will become the season's harvest. The farmers themselves are figures of resilience, clad in simple, rough-spun wool clothing that offers protection against the morning chill. Their movements are a study in practiced efficiency. A gentle call, a slight tug on the reins, these are the subtle cues that guide the massive oxen. There's a rhythm to their work, a slow and steady pace that has been passed down through generations. This isn't just a job, it's a way of life. The work is undeniably heavy, demanding strength and endurance, but there's a familiarity to it, a comfort in the repetition. Every gesture, from scattering seeds to clearing stones, has been learned since childhood, etched into their muscle memory. In the village, the morning air fills with the sounds of industry. The blacksmith's hammer rings out, a metallic heartbeat that echoes through the streets. Inside the workshop, the forge glows with a fiery intensity, casting dancing shadows on the walls. The blacksmith, a master of his craft, works with focused precision, transforming raw iron into essential tools, plowshares for the fields, nails for the carpenters, and horseshoes for the travelers. Each strike of the hammer is deliberate, shaping the red-hot metal with an expert's touch. His work is vital, providing the very implements that keep the community running. Meanwhile, in the quieter corners of the village, other crafts come to life. The potter sits at his wheel, his hands deftly shaping a lump of wet clay. With gentle pressure and a spinning motion, a simple pot begins to rise, its form emerging from the formless. This craft requires patience and a delicate touch, turning humble earth into vessels for storing grain, water, and wine. Nearby, the weaver works at her loom, the rhythmic clatter of the shuttle creating a soothing cadence. Threads of wool and linen, dyed with colors from plants and minerals, are interwoven to create durable cloth. This fabric will become clothing, blankets, and sails, each piece a testament to her skill and artistry. By mid-morning, around 10 o'clock, the sun is higher in the sky, and its warmth begins to be felt more intensely. In the town square, the marketplace is a vibrant hub of activity. Merchants have set up their stalls, displaying a colorful array of goods. The air is thick with a mixture of scents: freshly baked bread, from the baker's stall, fragrant spices from distant lands, and the earthy smell of vegetables just pulled from the ground. People from the village and surrounding farms gather here, their voices creating a lively buzz of conversation. It's a place for trade, but also for connection, where news is shared, friendships are renewed, and the pulse of the community can be felt most strongly. The baker's stall is always a popular spot. Long before dawn, he was at work, kneading dough and tending his wood-fired oven. Now, his table is laden with golden brown loaves of bread, their crusts crackling and their aroma irresistible. People line up, eager for a taste of this daily staple. The baker's craft is an art form, relying on simple ingredients, flour, water, yeast, and salt, to create something that nourishes and brings comfort. His bread is more than just food. It's a symbol of sustenance and community. As noon approaches, the sun reaches its highest point, casting short shadows on the ground. The heat intensifies, and the pace of work in the fields begins to slow. It's time for a well-deserved break. Farmers gather under the shade of a large tree, finding respite from the relentless sun. They unwrap simple lunches, hunks of bread, cheese, and perhaps an onion or some fruit. Water is passed around in earthenware jugs, cool and refreshing. This midday meal is a quiet, contemplative time. It's a moment to rest weary muscles, to recharge, and to share a few words with fellow workers before the afternoon's labor begins. In the village, the rhythm changes as well. The heat drives many people indoors. The marketplace becomes quieter as merchants and shoppers seek shade. The blacksmith's hammer falls silent for a time. The forge's fire banked to conserve fuel. Life slows to a more gentle pace, dictated by the sun's powerful presence. This midday pause is a natural and necessary part of the day's cycle, a collective breath taken before the world resumes its work. It's a reminder of how closely life is tied to the natural world, its rhythms of light and heat, labor and rest. This brief period of calm is just as important as the busiest hours of the morning. As the afternoon sun begins its slow descent, the air cools, and a renewed energy fills the village. This period, from 3 to 6 in the evening, is a time for finishing tasks and preparing for the evening ahead. In the fields, the farmers return to their plows, taking advantage of the more forgiving temperature. Their work continues until the light begins to fade, ensuring that every possible moment is used productively. Their silhouettes against the setting sun are a powerful image of perseverance and dedication. Back in the village, the marketplace experiences a second wave of activity. Those who were working during the day now come to buy supplies for their evening meal. The sounds of bartering and friendly chatter rise once more. Children, their chores for the day completed, run and play in the open spaces, their laughter echoing through the streets. It's a time when the community comes together again, not just for commerce, but for social interaction, sharing stories and winding down from the day's labor. The atmosphere is less hurried than in the morning, more relaxed and convivial. As evening deepens, the focus shifts to the home. This is a time for family, for sharing a meal and reflecting on the day. From 7 to 9 at night, households gather around their hearths. The flickering light of an oil lamp or a crackling fire casts a warm, inviting glow. The evening meal is the main meal of the day, a hearty affair made from the day's purchases and the garden's bounty. It might be a simple stew, bread and cheese, but it is shared together, and that makes it special. Around the dinner table, stories are told. Elders share tales of the past, passing on wisdom and tradition to the younger generation. The day's events are recounted news from the market, challenges in the field, small triumphs in the workshop. This is a crucial time for bonding, for reinforcing family ties, and for creating a sense of belonging and continuity. The home becomes a sanctuary, a place of comfort and security after a long day of hard work. In this simple, shared experience, the true strength of the community is forged, one family at a time. Video starts with a shot of a woman kneeling by a serene, flowing stream, rhythmically washing clothes against a smooth stone. The camera is close, capturing the texture of the wet fabric and the clear water. As dawn breaks, the world awakens, not just to the light of the sun, but to the quiet, steadfast rhythm of its women. This is where the heartbeat of the home truly begins, in the countless tasks that shape and sustain daily life. Long before the first meal is served, the day's work has already commenced. It begins with the journey to the stream, a ritual as old as time itself. Here, water, the very essence of life, is drawn, not with the turn of a tap, but carried vessel by vessel, a testament to strength and endurance. Cut to a different scene. A woman is inside a dimly lit rustic home, using a stone mill to grind grain. The sound of the stones grinding is audible. The shot focuses on her hands and the fine flour being produced. Back in the home, another ancient rhythm takes over. The grinding of grain. With a heavy stone mill, a tool passed down through generations, kernels are transformed into flour by hand. It's a slow, laborious process, demanding patience and physical power. Each turn of the stone is a prayer, a promise of bread for the family. This is not mere work, it's the alchemy of survival, turning the harvest's bounty into the substance of meals, one handful at a time. The air fills with the earthy scent of freshly ground grain, a fragrance of home and hearth. Transition to a shot of a woman mending a piece of cloth with a needle and thread. The sunlight from a window illuminates her focused expression, and a pile of clothes next to her. And then there's the endless cycle of cloth. Garments are not simply worn, they are cared for, preserved, and given new life. In the same stream where water was drawn, clothes are washed, beaten against rocks to release the dirt of yesterday's toil. They are then carried back, heavy with water, and hung to dry in the breeze, brilliant white sheets dancing against a blue sky. But the work doesn't end there. A tear, a worn-out seam nothing is discarded lightly. With needle and thread, every piece is painstakingly mended, patched, and reinforced. Again and again, the fabric is saved from unraveling, just as the fabric of the family is held together by these countless, often unseen, acts of devotion. The camera pans out from the mending scene to show a wider view of the village or settlement. We see different women engaged in various tasks, one carrying water, another tending a small garden, another watching over children playing nearby. The atmosphere is one of quiet, coordinated activity. This is the silent symphony of the household, a performance with no audience, yet one on which everything depends. From the water in the pot to the flour for the bread, from the clean clothes on their backs to the repaired roof overhead, all springs from the hands of these women. Their movements are a language of love and responsibility, spoken through action, not words. Their work is a constant, flowing river, that nourishes the roots of the family, the community, and civilization itself. They are the keepers of the flame, the weavers of the everyday, the architects of home. Their legacy is not written in books or carved in stone, but in the enduring strength of the families they raise and the world they build, one task at a time. The final shot lingers on a woman hanging a freshly washed white linen sheet on a line. The sun shines through it, making it almost glow. She smooths it out with her hands, a small, satisfied smile on her face. The scene is peaceful and powerful. In their hands, the mundane becomes monumental. The daily grind becomes a sacred duty. This is the story of how a home is made, not just with wood and stone, but with water, grain, and the unbreakable thread of a woman's work. It's a story that has been repeating for centuries, a quiet testament to the incredible resilience and vital contribution of women throughout history. Life in the village is a symphony of small moments, each one flowing into the next without sharp divisions. Here, the laughter of children is a constant melody, weaving through the daily rhythms of work and rest. You see them, small figures with bright eyes, darting through the yard, their bare feet kicking up dust as they chase after the clucking chickens. It's a game, a burst of pure, unadulterated joy, but it's also a lesson. They learn the movements of the animals, their habits, their place in the homestead. This isn't a chore assigned, but a responsibility absorbed. From their earliest years, they are observers. They watch their mothers shelling peas, their fathers mending a fence, their older siblings fetching water. Their small hands mimic the motions, their minds absorbing the why and the how. A toddler might be given a few pods to fumble with, not for the output, but for the practice, for the feeling of being part of the family's effort. There is no separate playtime scheduled into the day, distinct from work time. Life here is a holistic experience. Play happens in the spaces between tasks, or even within the tasks themselves. Look there, a little girl with a basket, one made for her small hands, trailing behind her mother. She's not just playing house, she's learning to gather. She might put a few fallen leaves in her basket, a pretty stone, maybe a stray vegetable her mother missed. To her, it's a treasure hunt. To the family, it's the beginning of her apprenticeship in providing. Her brother, a bit older, might be entrusted with shooing the goats away from the vegetable patch. He runs and shouts, and it's a thrilling game of tag, but it's also a vital act of protecting the family's food source. The toys they have are often not bought from a store, but found in nature or fashioned from scraps. A smooth riverstone becomes a character in a story. A corncob doll is a cherished companion. A sturdy stick is a horse, a sword, a tool for drawing in the dirt. This kind of play nurtures an incredible ingenuity. It teaches them to see potential in the ordinary, to create their own entertainment, to find wonder in the world directly around them. Their playground isn't a fenced-off area with plastic slides. It's the entire village, the fields, the stream, the forest edge. This environment fosters a deep-seated understanding of interdependence. They learn that everyone has a role, no matter how small. Helping isn't a transaction rewarded with an allowance. It's the very fabric of belonging. When they carry a small bundle of firewood or stir a pot under a watchful eye, they are not just completing a task, they are contributing. They are earning their place, not in a harsh, demanding way, but in a natural, organic process of integration. This instills a sense of competence and value from a very young age. There's a quiet confidence in these children. They know how to navigate their world. They know the names of the plants, which ones are for eating and which are for medicine. They can read the sky for signs of rain. They understand the language of the animals. This is a different kind of education, one that doesn't happen in a classroom with books and blackboards. It's an education of the senses, of the body, of the heart. It's knowledge passed down not through lectures, but through shared experience, through stories told around the fire, through songs sung while working. Of course, there is hardship. Life is not always idyllic, but the lack of separation between work and play also means there is a lack of separation between family members. They are constantly together, sharing the burdens and the joys. A difficult task is made lighter by shared hands and a song. A moment of rest is sweeter when it's earned together. The children aren't sent away to be entertained. They are brought into the fold, their youthful energy, a vital part of the household's spirit. They are learning to be resilient, resourceful, and deeply connected to their community and their environment. The skills they acquire are not abstract. They are tangible, practical, and immediately applicable to their lives. They are learning how to live, not just how to make a living. And in their soft laughter, in the earnest way they copy their elders, in the seamless dance between their chores and their games, we see a profound and beautiful truth, that a meaningful life is a whole life, one where work, play, love, and learning are not separate compartments, but threads woven together into a single, strong, and beautiful tapestry. Look at this road. It's not much, just a simple dirt path, but it's the lifeblood of this village. It's one artery connecting it to the vast unknown world beyond. Imagine standing here hundreds of years ago. The air would be filled with the clatter of wooden cartwheels, the lowing of oxen, and the chatter of travelers. Merchants would pass through, their carts laden with exotic good spices from distant lands, shimmering silks, and finely crafted metalwork. They'd bring not just wares, but stories, whispers of grand cities, political intrigues, and far-off wars. You might see a royal messenger, his horse kicking up dust, a sealed scroll tucked securely in his tunic, carrying words that could change the fate of the entire region. Following them, perhaps, a group of pilgrims, their faces etched with faith and determination, walking for weeks or even months to reach a sacred shrine. Their simple robes and steady pace a stark contrast to the hurried merchant. For the people living here, in these humble homes, this road is a source of both wonder and familiarity. Children would peek from behind cottage doors, their eyes wide with curiosity at the strangers passing by. These travelers are their only glimpse into a world most of them will never see. Their own lives are bound to the rhythm of the seasons, the planting and the harvest. For them, a journey to the next village is a significant event. The idea of traveling for weeks on end is almost unimaginable. Their world is defined by the fields they work, the neighbors they know, and the church spire that marks the center of their community. This road is the boundary of their known universe. It brings news, goods, and occasional excitement, but it also represents a life they will likely never lead, and so the road remains. It's been here for generations, worn smooth by countless feet, hooves, and wheels. It has seen joy and sorrow, arrivals and departures. It has felt the weight of soldiers marching to war, and the light steps of young lovers sneaking out for a twilight stroll. It's a silent witness to the endless cycle of life in the village. It doesn't change, even as the faces of the travelers and the villagers do. It's a constant, a steady presence that has absorbed the stories of everyone who has ever walked upon it. This simple dirt path is more than just a way to get from one place to another. It's a repository of history, a tapestry woven with the threads of countless lives. It connects this small, quiet village not just to other places, but to the past and the future. As the morning sun climbs higher, from about 9 to noon, we enter the steady rhythm of life. This is where the day finds its pulse, a consistent, unhurried beat. Come with me to the blacksmith's forge. The air here is thick with the smell of coal and hot metal. You can feel the warmth from the small forge, where embers glow with an intense, living light. Watch closely. The blacksmith, a figure of strength and focus, pulls a piece of glowing iron from the fire. Then the sound that defines this place begins, the rhythmic clang of a hammer striking the anvil. Each blow is deliberate, a conversation between the smith, the hammer, and the metal. There's no rush, no frantic energy. It's a dance of force and finesse. Under the heat and the patient, powerful strikes, the unyielding iron begins to bend. It softens, surrendering to the smith's will, ready to be shaped into something new. Look at the tools he's making. A sturdy hoe for the farmer's field, a sharp axe for the woodcutter, hinges for a new door in the village. These aren't just objects, they are the very sinews that hold this community together. Each tool that leaves this forge will play a part in keeping the village alive and thriving. The blacksmith isn't just working with metal. He's forging the means for survival, for progress, for life itself. This process teaches a profound lesson that with focused heat and patient effort, even the most stubborn material can be transformed into something useful and beautiful. Nothing here is hurried because quality and purpose take time. Now, let us step out of the heat of the forge and into the quiet concentration of the weaver's workshop. The scene changes completely. The loud clang of metal is replaced by the soft, rhythmic clatter of a wooden loom. Sunlight streams through the window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air and catching the vibrant colors of the threads. A woman sits at the loom, her hands moving with a practiced grace that seems almost effortless. She's not just weaving cloth, she's weaving stories. Each thread is a word, each pattern a sentence in the visual language of her craft. Her fingers fly across the loom, selecting threads, pushing the shuttle back and forth, beating the weft into place. It's a hypnotic motion, a meditation in action. The fabric grows line by line, a testament to her skill and dedication. This cloth will become a warm blanket against the winter chill, a sturdy bag for carrying goods from the market, or a beautiful garment for a celebration. Like the blacksmith's tools, her creations are deeply woven into the fabric of daily life here. The patterns she creates are more than just decoration. They are tradition, passed down through generations, each stitch connecting the present to the past. It's a quiet, steady, and essential contribution. From the weaver's loom, our path takes us to the fields that surround the village. Here, under the wide open sky, farmers are at work. The air is fresh, filled with the earthy smell of turned soil. They move with a steady pace that matches the slow, predictable cycles of nature. A man guides a plow, cutting a straight, dark line through the rich earth, preparing it for new seeds. Elsewhere, a woman kneels, carefully tending to young sprouts, her hands gently clearing away weeds. Their connection to the land is palpable. They understand its moods, its generosity, and its demands. Their work is not about instant results. It's about faith and foresight. They plant seeds today with the belief that with sun, rain, and care, a harvest will come months from now. They are partners with the seasons. Every action, from sowing to weeding to watering, is part of a long, slow process of cultivation. They are nurturing life from the ground up, providing the food that will sustain every single person in the village. This is the foundation of everything. Without their patient labor, the blacksmith's forge would cool, and the weaver's loom would fall silent. Their steady rhythm is the heartbeat of the community. Let's wander over to the village school. It's not a grand building, just a simple room, but it's filled with the bright energy of children. The sound of their voices reciting lessons drifts out the open window, a cheerful hum of learning. Inside, a teacher stands before them, not just imparting facts and figures, but shaping the future of the village. The children are learning to read, to write, to count. But more than that, they are learning the stories of their elders, the skills of their parents, and the values that bind their community together. The teacher is patient, guiding a small hand as it forms letters on a slate, answering a chorus of questions with a calm voice. This is where knowledge is passed on, where the torch of tradition is handed to the next generation. The lessons taught here will ensure that the blacksmith's craft, the weaver's art, and the farmer's wisdom are not lost to time. The education happening in this humble room is just as crucial as the iron forged or the cloth woven. It is the careful, steady work of cultivating minds, ensuring that the village will not only survive, but continue to grow and adapt for years to come. Finally, our midday walk brings us to the riverbank, where life moves at its own gentle pace. A fisherman sits quietly, his line cast into the slow-moving water. His posture is one of complete patience. He's not fighting the river. He's in tune with it. He watches the subtle movements on the surface, feels the gentle tug on his line, and waits. For him, this isn't just about catching fish for dinner. It's a moment of connection with the natural world. The gentle lapping of the water against the bank, the rustle of reeds in the brizets, a symphony of tranquility. This quiet act of fishing is a reminder that not all work is strenuous. Some contributions are made through stillness and observation. His catch will provide nourishment, another vital piece of the village's sustenance. His peaceful presence on the riverbank is a part of the landscape, a symbol of the harmonious relationship this community has with its environment. As noon approaches, the sun reaches its highest point, casting short shadows on the ground. The steady rhythm of the morning's work begins to slow, anticipating a well-deserved rest. This has been a glimpse into a world where every action has meaning, and every moment is part of a larger, beautiful, and deliberate dance. Bread is the heart of every meal. It's more than just food. It's a connection, a tradition passed down through generations. Here, in the heart of our village, the day begins with the simple magic of flour, water, and time. These basic elements, worked by patient hands, are about to become our daily nourishment. You see, the communal oven is more than just a place to bake. It's the village's hearth, a gathering spot where stories are shared and friendships are strengthened. Early in the morning, the fire is kindled, its warmth slowly spreading. promising the golden-crusted loaves that will soon grace our tables. Each family brings their dough, lovingly prepared in wooden bowls that have seen countless batches before. Some are seasoned with herbs from the garden. Others are studded with olives or seeds, each a unique expression of the home it came from. The process is a beautiful rhythm. The dough is gently shaped, scored with a signature mark, and then slid into the fiery depths of the oven. There's a quiet understanding among everyone here, a shared knowledge of when the bread is ready. It's not about timers or precise measurements, but about the feel, the look, and that unmistakable aroma, and oh, that smell. It starts as a subtle, yeasty fragrance and soon blossoms into a rich, comforting scent that drifts through the entire village. It's a signal to everyone that the heart of our midday meal is almost ready. It's a scent that calls children home from their play and brings people out of their doorways, their faces lit with anticipation. This isn't just the smell of baking bread. It's the smell of community, of togetherness, of life itself. As midday approaches, the activity around the oven reaches its peak. The first loaves are pulled out, their crusts crackling, their insides soft and steaming. A golden brown tapestry of different shapes and sizes covers the long wooden tables. There's a shared sense of accomplishment, a collective pride in this simple yet profound creation. The bread is sustenance, yes, but it's also a symbol of our interconnected lives. Breaking bread together is a sacred act. When we sit down to eat, we're not just filling our stomachs, we're partaking in a ritual that binds us. Each slice tells a story of the hands that kneaded it, the fire that baked it, and the community that shares it. It's a reminder that in a world that often rushes, there is immense beauty in slowing down, in creating something with our own hands, and in sharing the fruits of our labor with those around us. This simple loaf, born from flour, water, and fire, represents the very essence of our village life. It's a testament to the power of simplicity and the enduring strength of community. It nourishes our bodies and our souls, reminding us daily that the most meaningful things in life are often the most fundamental. As we carry our loaves home, the warmth spreading through our hands, we carry with us the warmth of our shared existence. Imagine waking up to the gentle hustle and bustle, not the roar of traffic. The air is filled with the earthy scent of fresh vegetables just pulled from the ground, the rustic aroma of hay, and the faint, sweet smell of baking bread from a nearby stall. This isn't just a place to buy things. It's the center of community life, the original social network. Look around. The stalls are simple, maybe just a wooden plank laid over 2 barrels. Here, a farmer proudly displays his perfectly round cheeses and baskets overflowing with fresh, glistening eggs. He's not a stranger. You know his family. You know his farm. You might even know the names of his cows. When you buy from him, you're not just a customer, you're a neighbor. Over there, a woman is selling hand-spun wool, the colors dyed from plants she grew in her own garden. The cloth she weaves isn't mass-produced. Each thread tells a story of long hours and skilled hands. You can feel the quality, the durability. A tunic made from this cloth isn't a disposable fashion item. It's an investment meant to last for years, perhaps even to be passed down. Listen closely. The sounds are different, too. There's no constant beeping of scanners or pre-recorded announcements. Instead, you hear the low murmur of conversation, the friendly haggling between a merchant and a buyer, the laughter of children chasing a stray chicken through the square. It's a human-centric soundscape, warm and personal. Trade here is built on trust and reputation. You might not even use coins for every transaction. Perhaps you'll trade a surplus of your own garden-esque carrots for a loaf of that delicious-smelling bread. Bartering is common. Your word is your bond, and your reputation as an honest dealer is your most valuable asset. In a world without online reviews, personal experience and word of mouth are everything. This marketplace is more than just an economic hub. It's where news travels, carried by merchants from distant towns. It's where friends meet to catch up, where marriages might be informally arranged, and where public announcements are made. The market is the stage upon which the daily drama of medieval life unfolds. It's a testament to a time when commerce was deeply intertwined with community, and every transaction was a personal connection. Think about the contrast with today. We value speed, convenience, and endless choice. But in the medieval market, the values were different: trust, quality, and community. The goods weren't exotic imports from across the globe. They were the fruits of your neighbor's labor. You knew where your food came from. You knew the person who made your clothes. And you were part of a web of relationships that held the community together. This simple, personal form of exchange created a strong sense of local identity and interdependence. People relied on each other, not on faceless corporations. A bad harvest for one farmer could affect the whole village, just as a skilled artisan brought prosperity to many. It was a fragile but resilient system, built not on contracts and algorithms, but on handshakes and familiar faces. So the next time you're at a farmer's market, take a moment. You're experiencing a small echo of this ancient tradition, a tradition where trade was simple, personal, and profoundly human. It's a reminder that behind every product, there's a person, a story, and a community. The sun climbs to its zenith, casting sharp, clear light across the fields and rooftops. It's noon, the midpoint of the day, a time marked not just by the sun's position, but by the peal of a distant bell. This is the hour of sext, the midday prayer, a moment of pause in the relentless rhythm of medieval life. For the monks in their quiet cloisters, the bell is a summons to chapter and prayer, a sacred duty. But its call extends far beyond the monastery walls, reaching every corner of the village, a thread of shared faith woven into the fabric of their day. Imagine the scene. A blacksmith lowers his hammer, the clang of metal giving way to a moment of quiet reflection. A weaver steps back from her loom, the shuttle silenced. In the fields, peasants straighten their backs, wiping sweat from their brows, their eyes turning towards the church spire that pierces the skyline. They might not all stop work entirely. The harvest waits for no one, but the bell serves as a mental and spiritual reset. It's a collective breath, a shared acknowledgement of a higher power that governs their lives as much as the changing seasons or the will of their Lord. Inside the stone church, the atmosphere is transformed. Sunlight, filtered through magnificent stained-glass windows, paints the cool, dim interior with jewels of ruby, sapphire, and emerald. Dust motes dance in these vibrant shafts of light, like tiny, sacred spirits. The air is thick with the scent of old stone, beeswax, and a faint whisper of incense from the morning's mass. A few villagers are Hirtha, elderly, the devout women seeking a moment of peace away from a bustling household. They kneel on the cold flagstones, heads bowed, murmuring prayers. Their petitions are simple and heartfelt: for a good harvest, for the health of a child, for a husband's safe return from a journey, for the soul of a departed loved one. This midday pause is more than just a religious obligation. It's a vital part of the day's structure. In a world without clocks on every wall, the church bells, the Angelus bells are the community's timekeeper. They announce the start of the workday at prime, the break at sext, and the end of labor at vespers. This sacred timetable gives shape and meaning to their existence. It reminds them that their earthly toil is part of a larger, divine plan. Faith isn't something reserved for Sundays. It's ingrained in the very hours of the day, as constant and reliable as the sun's journey across the sky. This moment of quiet contemplation offers a stark contrast to the physical demands of their lives. Life is hard, often brutal. Work is backbreaking. Food can be scarce, and disease is a constant threat. Yet, in this shared silence, there is a sense of community and solace. They are united not just by their hardships, but by their shared beliefs. The silent prayer of a farmer in his field echoes the chanted psalms of the monks in the priory. It's a connection that transcends social status and physical distance, binding the entire community together under the watchful eyes of God. As the final echoes of the noon bell fade, the world stirs back to life. The blacksmith picks up his hammer, the rhythmic clang resuming. The weaver's shuttle begins its dance once more. The peasants bend their backs to the earth again, their movements renewed. The pause is over, but its effect lingers. The work is the same. The sun is just as hot, but for a brief moment, they were reminded of their place in the cosmos. They were reminded that their labor has a purpose beyond mere survival. This brief interlude of faith provides the spiritual sustenance needed to face the remainder of the day, to continue their work with resilience and a quiet sense of hope until the bells call them once again. The morning's rush is over, and a new rhythm settles over the land. The sun, now high and mighty in the sky, beats down with an unwavering strength. The air is thick with the scent of sun-baked earth and the hum of insects. This is the long, warm heart of the day, where endurance becomes the true measure of a person's worth. Look out across the fields. The vibrant green of spring has given way to the golden hues of harvest. This is the culmination of months of labor, the moment of truth for every farmer and their family. You can see them dotted across the landscape, figures bent under the vast, open sky. They are harvesting, their movements practiced and methodical. The rhythmic swish of a scythe cutting through stalks of wheat is a sound as old as agriculture itself. It's a hypnotic dance of human and nature, a partnership forged in sweat and soil. The heat is intense. You can see the glisten of sweat on their brows, their tunics stained dark with effort. They pause often, wiping their faces with the backs of their hands, taking long swigs of water from wooden canteens or clay jugs. But these breaks are brief. The work must continue. Every stalk of grain is precious, a promise of bread through the long, cold winter ahead. There's a quiet determination in their faces, a focus that shuts out the discomfort of the heat. This isn't a job, it's survival. Back in the village, the afternoon has its own distinct pace. The blacksmith's hammer, which rang so urgently in the morning, now falls with a more deliberate, measured beat. He's no longer forging new tools from scratch, but perhaps mending a broken plowshare or sharpening a set of blades. The fire in his forge still roars, a beacon of heat in the already warm afternoon. He works with a deep-seated knowledge, his movements economical and precise. He understands the nature of metal, how it yields to fire and hammer, and he wastes no energy. The women of the village are engaged in their own endless tasks. The morning's baking and cooking have given way to other duties. You might see a group of them by the river, washing clothes. They beat the garments against smooth, flat stones, the rhythmic thwack echoing in the air. Laughter and conversation flow as freely as the water, a moment of community amidst the labor. Others sit in the shade of their homes, their hands busy with spinning wool into thread or mending torn clothing. Every scrap of fabric is valuable, every thread a testament to their skill and patience. Children, their morning chores complete, are now underfoot, but they too have their roles. The younger ones might be tasked with scaring birds away from the ripening fruit in the orchards. Their shouts and homemade noisemakers, a constant background chatter. Older children are often apprentices to their parents, learning the skills they will need for their own futures. A boy might be helping his father in the carpentry yard, learning to plane a piece of wood. A girl might be learning the intricate patterns of a loom from her mother. Play is woven into work, and work into life. Inside the castle walls, the atmosphere is different, yet the theme of steady work continues. The great hall, which bustled with activity during the morning meal, is now quieter. Servants move about, cleaning and preparing for the evening. In the kitchens, the fires are kept low, simmering stocks and slow-cooking tougher cuts of meat. The smell of herbs and roasting meat begins to permeate the air, a preview of the evening's feast. Even the knights, their morning training drills complete, might be found tending to their armor, polishing steel and mending leather straps. Readiness is a constant state. The afternoon is a time for specialized crafts. The tanner works with hides, a pungent and demanding job that requires patience and a strong stomach. The potter sits at his wheel, his hands slick with clay, coaxing pots and jugs into existence from a lump of earth. The fletcher meticulously attaches feathers to arrows, each one a potential instrument of defense or a tool for the hunt. These are tasks that cannot be rushed. They require a focused mind and a steady hand, qualities well suited to the slower tempo of the afternoon. As the hours wear on, the sun begins its slow descent from its peak. The shadows, which had shrunk to almost nothing at midday, start to lengthen once more, stretching like long, dark fingers across the fields and village paths. A subtle shift occurs. The intense heat begins to soften, and a gentle breeze might stir the leaves. The workers in the fields feel this change. It's a sign that the day's labor is nearing its end. They don't stop, but a new energy, a second wind, seems to flow through them. The goal is in sight. Imagine the perspective of a traveler on the road, looking down at the village from a nearby hill. They would see a living tapestry of activity, a community moving in sync with the sun and the seasons. The smoke rising from the chimneys, the sounds of work and life drifting up on the warm air, the sight of people toiling in the fields. It all paints a picture of a world that is deeply connected to the earth it stands on. There is a profound sense of purpose in this scene, a beauty in the simplicity and necessity of the work. The animals, too, follow this afternoon rhythm. The oxen that pulled the plow in the morning now rest in the shade, chewing their cud with a placid contentment. Chickens scratch and peck in the dust, and the village dogs drowse in patches of sun. Life slows down, conserving energy for the tasks that still lie ahead before nightfall. It's a lesson in pacing, a wisdom that the people have learned from the natural world around them. You don't fight the sun, you work with it. You don't rush the harvest, you gather it with care. This period of the day is about endurance more than speed. It's about the steady, ongoing effort that turns raw materials into finished goods, that transforms a planted seed into a loaf of bread, that builds and maintains a community. The morning might be for bold beginnings, but the afternoon is for seeing things through. It's the long, quiet chapter in the middle of the story, the part that requires grit and perseverance. It's in these slow, warm hours that the real work of sustaining life is done. So, as we watch the afternoon sun cast its golden light over this medieval world, we see a scene not of idleness, but of purposeful, paced labor. It's a testament to the resilience and strength of people who understood their place in the world and the rhythms that governed it. They knew that to rush was to waste energy, and energy was a resource as precious as grain or water. The long afternoon was a marathon, not a sprint, and they ran it with a quiet, enduring grace. In a time before factories and mass production, every single thread, every piece of cloth, began with humble origins and human hands. Let's explore the incredible transformation from a fluffy fleece to a finished garment. Our story starts with the sheep. The quality of the wool was paramount, and different breeds were prized for their unique fibers. After shearing, the raw wool was a tangled, greasy mess, full of dirt, twigs, and lanolin. The first crucial step was cleaning. Women and children would spend countless hours sorting and washing the fleece in tubs of water, often with stale urine or lye from wood ash to cut through the grease. It was a smelly, laborious job, but essential for preparing the fibers. Once cleaned and dried, the wool had to be carded or combed. Carding, using two paddles with metal teeth, aligned the shorter fibers, creating a fluffy roll called a rollag. This was perfect for spinning a soft, airy woolen yarn, ideal for warm, everyday clothing. For finer, more luxurious textiles, the longer wool fibers were combed. This process used large, heated combs with long metal tines to straighten the fibers and remove the shorter ones, resulting in a smooth, lustrous sliver called a top. This would be spun into worsted yarn, a strong, smooth thread used for high-quality fabrics. Now, for the magic of spinning. The drop spindle, a tool used for millennia, was the most common method. It was portable, allowing women to spin while walking, watching livestock, or minding children. A spinner would draft a small amount of fiber from her prepared wool, held on a stick called a distaff, and attach it to the spindle. With a deft flick of the wrist, she'd set the spindle spinning, its weight pulling and twisting the fibers into a continuous thread. It was a dance of hand-eye coordination, constantly feeding the fibers and maintaining the right amount of twist. The rhythm was meditative, a constant hum in the background of daily life. The spinning wheel, while known in some parts of Europe, became more common in the later Middle Ages. It was a significant technological leap, allowing for much faster production. The great wheel, or walking wheel, was turned by hand, while the spinner walked back and forth, drafting and winding on the yarn. Later, the flyer wheel, operated by a foot pedal, allowed the spinner to sit and work continuously, both spinning the yarn and winding it onto the bobbin in one smooth motion. This innovation dramatically increased the amount of thread a single person could produce, feeding the growing demand for cloth. But a single thread is just the beginning. To create fabric, you need hundreds, even thousands of them. The spun yarn was wound into skeins, often washed again, and sometimes dyed. Dyes were a world of their own, derived from plants, insects, and minerals. Madder root produced vibrant reds, woad leaves gave a range of blues, and weld created a brilliant yellow. The color of your clothes could say a lot about your wealth and status, as some dyes were incredibly expensive and rare. With the threads prepared, it's time for the loom. The dominant type in the Middle Ages was the horizontal treadle loom, a large and complex piece of machinery. Setting it up, or dressing the loom, was a painstaking process. The warp threads, the long, stationary threads that form the backbone of the fabric, had to be carefully measured, counted, and threaded through a series of heddles and a reed. This alone could take days. Each heddle was attached to a foot pedal, or treadle. Once the loom was dressed, the weaving could begin. The weaver would sit at the loom and press the treadles in a specific sequence. This action raised and lowered different sets of warp threads, creating an opening called a shed. The weaver would then pass the weft thread, the thread that goes from side to side through this shed, often wound on a shuttle. After passing the shuttle through, they would use the beater, a comb-like part of the loom, to pack the new weft thread tightly against the previously woven cloth. Treadle, shuttle, beat. Treadle, shuttle, beat. It was a physical, noisy, and highly skilled process. The rhythmic clatter of the loom was the sound of creation, the sound of a family's livelihood. The type of weave, the pattern in which the warp and weft threads interlaced determined the fabric's properties. A simple, plain weave was sturdy and common. A twill weave, with its characteristic diagonal lines, was more durable and flexible, used for everything from peasant tunics to fine woolens. More complex patterns, like herringbone or diamond twills, required more skill but produced beautiful, decorative fabrics. Even after the cloth came off the loom, the work wasn't over. The grege goods, as the unfinished fabric was called, were often rough and uneven. They went to the fuller, who would treat the cloth in a process called fulling or walking. This involved pounding the wet fabric, often with feet or with large water-powered hammers, in a trough with clay and other agents. This process cleaned, shrank, and thickened the cloth, especially woolens, matting the fibers together to create a denser, more weather-resistant material, much like modern felt. Finally, the finished cloth was stretched on a tenter frame to dry without shrinking. Held in place by tenterhooks is where we get the phrase on tenterhooks. The surface might be raised with teasels and then sheared for a smooth, velvety finish. Only then was the cloth ready to be sold at market or cut and sewn into a garment. From the fleece on a sheep's back to the tunic on a farmer's shoulders, the journey was immense. It involved the entire community: shepherds, washers, carders, spinners, dyers, weavers, and fullers. Each piece of clothing represented days, if not weeks, of coordinated labor. Nothing was wasted. Old clothes were patched, passed down, and when they were utterly worn out, the scraps were repurposed or shredded to be used as stuffing. In this world, fabric was a form of wealth, a testament to human ingenuity, and a tangible connection to the hands that made it. Forget the quiet pastoral scenes you see in movies. Real medieval villages were bursting with noise, energy, and life, much of it from animals. Let's take a stroll through one and see what we can find. The first thing you'd notice, and probably smell, are the chickens. They're everywhere, scratching in the dirt paths between the wattle and daub houses, clucking and pecking for any stray grain or insect. These aren't just for eggs. A plump chicken is a valuable source of meat, a welcome addition to the family pot when times are good. They're the village's little foragers, turning waste into food. You'd see children shooing them out of doorways, and women scattering feed, a constant, familiar dance. The rooster's crow isn't just a morning alarm. It's the heartbeat of the village, marking the start of another day of hard work. And speaking of work, look over there. A team of oxen, patient and powerful, stands yoked to a heavy wooden plow. Their handler, a farmer with weathered hands, murmurs commands as they begin to turn the heavy soil of the common field. Oxen were the tractors of the Middle Ages, stronger and more resilient than horses for the relentless task of plowing. They were the true engines of agriculture. Their slow, steady pace dictated the rhythm of planting season. Without them, there would be no bread. A village's wealth could be measured by the number of oxen it owned. They were a communal asset, a shared treasure that ensured everyone's survival. Wandering a bit further, you'll inevitably encounter the pigs. They aren't neatly penned up. Instead, they roam freely, rooting around in the muck and mire with their powerful snouts. Pigs were the village's sanitation department. They ate everything: kitchen scraps, fallen fruit, even human waste. It sounds gross to us, but it was an incredibly efficient system. Nothing went to waste. And in the autumn, these pigs, fattened up over the year, would be slaughtered. The salting season was a crucial time, providing preserved pork, bacon, and ham to last through the long, cold winter. Every part of the pig was used, from its bristles for brushes to its bladder for a makeshift ball. Of course, what's a village without dogs? But these aren't just pampered pets. You'd see lanky, sharp-eyed hounds used for hunting, bringing back rabbits or even deer from the surrounding forests. Smaller, scrappier terriers were prized for their rat-catching skills, protecting the precious grain stores from pests. And then there are the guard dogs, barking fiercely at any stranger approaching the village edge. They were working partners, earning their keep through their loyalty and specialized skills. A good hunting dog was as valuable as a sharp axe. And let's not forget the horses. While oxen did the heavy field work, horses were all about speed and status. A knight's powerful warhorse, or destrier, was a symbol of incredible wealth and power, bred for strength and courage in battle. But in the village, you'd more likely see sturdy pack horses, laden with goods for the market, or a swifter riding horse, belonging to a local reeve or priest. A horse meant you could travel, trade, and communicate beyond the confines of your own small world. They connected villages to the wider medieval landscape, their resting forms, tied to a post outside the alehouse, tell stories of journeys taken and messages delivered. Cats, too, played their parts. They were less companions and more tolerated residents, valued for one simple reason: they killed mice and rats. In a world where every grain of wheat counted, a good mouser was essential. They slink through the shadows of barns and kitchens, silent, efficient hunters. Their presence was a form of insurance against famine. You wouldn't see people cuddling them, but their contribution to the village's well-being was quietly understood and appreciated. Look up at the sky. A flock of pigeons circles a dovecote, a special tower built just for them. Pigeons, or doves, were another source of fresh meat, especially in winter when other game was scarce. Their droppings were also a highly prized fertilizer, rich in nitrogen, perfect for enriching the soil in kitchen gardens. The dovecote itself was a status symbol, usually owned by the lord of the manor. In the medieval world, the line between human and animal was blurred. They lived, worked, and slept in close proximity. A family might bring a weak lamb or calf inside on a cold night to keep it warm by the fire. The rhythms of animal life, birthing, growing, working, and dying, were woven into the very fabric of human existence. Animals weren't just property, they were partners in the daily struggle for survival. They were living tools, a walking pantry, and sometimes a trusted companion. This constant interaction created a world rich with sights, sounds, and smells we can barely imagine today. This shared existence, this deep, practical connection to the animal kingdom, is one of the most fundamental differences between their world and ours. To understand the medieval village is to understand its animals. As the afternoon slowly gives way to evening, the world of medieval England transforms. The sun, once high and bright, begins its slow descent, painting the sky in softer shades. Long, stretching shadows creep across the open fields, tracing the contours of the land and reaching like dark fingers into the village. They stretch over the thatched roofs, across the well-trodden paths, and along the sturdy stone walls of the church. This is not the abrupt end of a day, but a gentle, gradual transition, a quiet conversation between light and darkness. The quality of the light itself changes. It becomes warmer, richer, a deep golden hue that bathes everything in a serene glow. It catches the weathered texture of wooden fences, the smooth, worn handles of tools left leaning against a wall, and the uneven ground where generations of bare feet have walked. As people move, their steps kick up little clouds of dust, which catch the light and hang in the air like a golden mist before settling back to the earth. It's a magical, almost dreamlike quality of light, one that softens the hard edges of the world and lends a sense of peace to the landscape. In the fields, the rhythm of work begins to change. The frantic energy of midday has faded. The scythes still swing, but with a more measured, graceful arc. Hands that were once moving with urgent purpose now work with a familiar, practiced ease. The motions are guided less by conscious effort and more by the deep-seated muscle memory of a lifetime of labor. There's a shared, unspoken understanding that the day's most demanding tasks are done. People straighten their backs, wiping sweat from their brows, not with impatience, but with a sense of accomplishment. Life in a medieval village doesn't run by the clock. There are no watches to check, no chimes to mark the hours, except perhaps the distant church bell calling for vespers. Time is felt, not measured. It's understood through the position of the sun, the length of one's own shadow, and the growing ache in the muscles. The body knows when the day is winding down. The stomach begins to rumble with the thought of the evening meal, and a natural weariness sets in, signaling that it's time to rest. The pace of life slows organically, in harmony with the natural world. Animals, too, sense the shift. Cattle in the pastures begin to gather, their lowing softer now, as they wait to be brought in for the night. Sheep huddle closer together on the hillsides. Chickens start to make their way back towards the coop, their clucking a gentle, continuous murmur. Even the birdsong changes. The cheerful, boisterous chirping of the morning is replaced by the softer, more melodic calls of dusk. The entire ecosystem of the village begins to settle, preparing for the quiet of the night. Inside the small, timber-framed houses, preparations for the evening are underway. The hearth, the true heart of the home, is stoked. The smell of wood smoke begins to drift from the chimneys, mingling with the earthy scent of the fields and the cool evening air. It's a comforting, familiar smell that promises warmth, light, and a hot meal. Women move about the dimly lit interiors, their figures silhouetted against the firelight as they stir pots and prepare the simple but nourishing food that will restore the energy spent during the day. Children, who have been playing in the lanes and fields, begin to tire. Their games become less boisterous, their laughter quieter. They are called back towards their homes, their small figures scampering across the village green as the last light fades. For them, evening brings the promise of stories told by the fireside, the comfort of their parents' presence, and the welcome embrace of sleep after a day full of adventure and discovery. The end of the day is a return to the safety and warmth of the family. The sounds of the village change as well. The sharp clang of the blacksmith's hammer gives way to the distant, rhythmic chop of an axe splitting wood for the morning fire. The clamor of the marketplace is replaced by the low murmur of conversations as neighbors exchange a few words on their way home. There's a sense of community in these sounds, a shared experience of another day's work completed. It's a soundscape of winding down, of a collective sigh of relief and contentment. Evening in medieval England isn't just an absence of light, it's a presence of its own. It's a time of quiet reflection, of gathering in, of turning from the outer world of work and community to the inner world of home and family. It's a moment of balance, poised between the labor of the day and the rest of the night. It arrives not as a sudden event, but as a slow, inevitable tide. A quiet agreement between the land, the sky, and the people who live upon it. As the first stars begin to appear in the deepening twilight, a profound sense of peace settles over the village. The day is done. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of twilight, the world outside begins to quiet down. For the families living in these small, humble homes, this is a time to draw inward, to leave the long day's labor behind and seek the comfort of the hearth. Inside, the air grows thick with the familiar, comforting aroma of the evening meal. A single pot, blackened from years of use, simmers gently over the crackling fire. Its contents are simple, dictated not by choice but by the rhythm of the seasons. Root vegetables pulled from the damp earth, hardy grains harvested from the fields, and perhaps a few scraps of meat if the hunt was successful. This stew is the culmination of the day's toil, a testament to their resilience. The ritual of the meal begins. There are no fancy table settings, no clatter of fine silverware. Instead, rough-hewn wooden bowls are passed from one calloused hand to another. A loaf of dense, dark bread is brought to the center. It isn't sliced with a knife, but broken by hand, a symbolic act of sharing what little they have. Each piece is uneven, a unique portion for each member of the family. The act of breaking bread together reinforces the unspoken bonds that tie them to one another. It's a gesture of community, of shared survival in a world that often demands so much. Silence hangs comfortably in the room, punctuated only by the soft scrape of spoons against wood and the occasional murmur. Conversation is sparse. There's no need to fill the air with idle chatter. The day's events are known to all, shared through mutual experience rather than words. A father might mention the state of the fields, his voice low and steady. A mother might quietly ask if a child's cough has subsided. These are not conversations as we know them, but brief, meaningful exchanges that punctuate long, peaceful pauses. The focus is on the meal itself, on the act of replenishment. This isn't a rushed affair. It's a slow, deliberate process, a moment of quiet communion and rest. Each spoonful is savored, a mindful appreciation of the nourishment it provides. The fire is the heart of the home, its flickering light dancing across the walls and casting long, soft shadows. It pushes back the encroaching darkness and the evening chill, wrapping the small room in a blanket of warmth. The gentle heat soothes tired muscles and calms weary minds. Children, their energy finally spent, lean against their parents, their eyes heavy with sleep. The steady, rhythmic sounds of eating, of breathing, of the fire crackling, create a lulling symphony of domestic peace. It's a sensory experience that grounds them in the present moment, a shield against the uncertainties of the world outside. The warmth is more than physical, it's emotional, a feeling of safety and belonging. As the last of the stew is scraped from the bowls, a profound sense of contentment settles over the family. The day is done, the work is finished, bellies are full. In this small, enclosed world, there is a powerful sense of order and predictability. They know, with absolute certainty, that tomorrow will be much like today. The sun will rise, the work will begin, and the day will end with this same simple meal around the same warm fire. For many, this might sound monotonous, a life devoid of excitement, but for them, it is the very source of their peace. This unyielding pattern is not a cage, but a foundation. It's the knowledge that, no matter what challenges the new day brings, the fundamental rhythms of life will continue, steady and unbroken. This cycle, this repetition, is the bedrock of their existence. It's a legacy passed down through generations. Their parents and their parents' parents lived this same life, guided by the same sun and seasons. There's a deep, unspoken understanding that they are part of a much larger story, a continuous thread in the tapestry of their lineage. This connection to the past and the predictable nature of the future provides a powerful sense of stability. It frees the mind from the anxiety of the unknown, allowing for a quiet acceptance of their place in the world. The simplicity of their lives is not a lack, but a form of wealth, of peace, of knowing who you are and where you belong. And so, as the embers of the fire begin to fade, the family prepares for sleep. The wooden bowls are rinsed and put away, ready for the morning. The room grows darker, the sounds softer. The day's chapter closes, not with a bang, but with a gentle sigh of collective relief. They have made it through another day. They are together, they are safe. This nightly ritual of rest and replenishment is what gives them the strength to face the dawn, to once again take up the tools of their trade and work the land that sustains them. It is in these quiet, unexamined moments that the true resilience of the human spirit is forged, nurtured by the simple, enduring power of family, food, and fire. And in that knowledge, they find not boredom, but a deep and abiding peace. A flicker of light might dance within, but it's a precious and fleeting thing. The source is a candle, a luxury not all can afford. The cheapest are tallow candles, made from rendered animal fat. They sputter and smoke, casting long, wavering shadows on the rough walls and releasing a greasy, often unpleasant, odor. For the wealthier few, there are beeswax candles. These burn cleaner and brighter, filling the small space with a faint, sweet scent of honey. But, regardless of its source, every flame is a valuable resource. The wax or fat it consumes represents food, labor, or money. So, they are used sparingly. As the evening winds down, these tiny flames are carefully pinched out, one by one, surrendering the home to the encroaching night. To waste a candle is to waste the day's hard work. With the light gone, the villagers prepare for the deep sleep ahead. The day's last tasks are done. Doors, often simple wooden planks on leather hinges, are barred against the chill night air and any wandering animals. Wooden shutters are fastened over the unglazed window openings, not necessarily out of fear of intruders. Community is tight-knit, and strangers are rare but, as a simple, ingrained habit, a ritual passed down through generations to seal the home against the elements. The cottage becomes a sealed, dark cocoon. The family gathers together, often sharing a single large bed filled with straw or wool for warmth, their bodies a small furnace against the cold. The darkness is not a void to be feared, but a signal for rest, a natural conclusion to the day's labor. Outside, the animal world mirrors the human one. The day's noise and activity melt away into a deep, resonant quiet. Horses, which spent the day pulling plows or carts, stand quietly in their simple, lean-to shelters, their warm breath misting in the cold air. The chickens, which roamed freely during the day, are now silent and still in their coops, huddled together on their roosts. The family dog, a vital member of the household for hunting or herding, curls up by the doorway or near the faint, dying embers of the hearth. Its sleep as deep and earned as its master's. The rhythm of the village is a shared one, a unified pulse of work and rest that binds people, animals, and the land itself together. In this deep medieval night, the cycle of life is stark and clear. The world is divided into two distinct halves, the light for work and community, and the dark for rest and introspection. This darkness wasn't empty. It was full of a different kind of life. It was a time for stories told in the dim light of a dying fire, for prayers whispered before sleep, for the body to heal and the mind to dream. It shaped their perception of the world, their sense of time, and their relationship with the natural environment. Their lives were woven directly into the fabric of day and night, a rhythm we have almost completely lost. Imagine lying there in the absolute quiet, the only sounds being the breathing of your family and the faint stirrings of the house settling. Your senses would be heightened. You'd be acutely aware of the temperature dropping, the texture of the straw mattress beneath you, the smell of wood smoke lingering in the air. The boundary between the waking world and the world of dreams would feel thin, porous. Sleep wasn't an escape, but a continuation of existence in a different state. It was a necessary surrender to a force far greater than any human endeavor, a nightly reminder of their place within a vast, mysterious, and divinely ordered cosmos. This deep, shared slumber was the village's nightly reset, ensuring that with the first light of dawn, life could begin anew with renewed strength and purpose. The darkness was not an end, but a vital pause in the ever-turning wheel of medieval life. We're stepping into the heart of a medieval English home long after the sun has set. Forget the world, a world of bright screens and constant noise. Here, there is only one center of life, one source of light and warmth, the fire. After the evening meal, the family gathers. The flames dance in the central hearth, casting long, moving shadows across the rough-hewn walls and the packed earth floor. Look around. There are no paintings, no bookshelves, no decorations as we know them, just simple, sturdy furniture and the essential tools for survival. For most people in this time, this flickering firelight is the brightest light they will see all day. Candles made of tallow or beeswax are a luxury few can afford, and oil lamps are even rarer. The fire is everything it's the sun after the sun has gone. As the family settles, a quiet descends, broken only by the soft crackle and pop of the burning logs. This is when the stories begin. In an age where most people cannot read or write, memory is the library, and the voice is the book. History, faith, folklore, and family chronicles are all passed down orally, from one generation to the next. These aren't dramatic performances. There's no stage, no grand gestures. An elder begins to speak, their voice steady and familiar. The tales they tell are woven into the fabric of daily life. They speak of legendary heroes, of saints and their miracles, of cunning tricksters from local folklore. They might recount the great deeds of a king from long ago, or whisper cautionary tales about the strange, magical beings believed to inhabit the nearby woods and streams. These stories serve a purpose far beyond entertainment. They are lessons in morality, a way of understanding the world and one's place in it. They teach courage, piety, and the importance of community. For the children, whose eyes are heavy after a day of labor, these tales are their first lessons in history and culture. For the adults, whose bodies ache from dawn to dusk work, it is a moment of communal rest, a shared experience that strengthens the bonds of family and village. Imagine the faces, lit by the warm, orange glow. Expressions shift with the turns of the tales widening at a moment of peril, a soft smile at a moment of triumph. There are no clocks on the wall to mark the passing hours. Time itself feels different here. It's measured not by minutes, but by the rhythm of the story and the life of the fire. The evening stretches and breathes, guided by the slow burn of the wood. The stories are often filled with the textures of their world. They tell of harsh winters and the relief of spring, of the satisfaction of a good harvest, and the ever-present threat of famine or sickness. They might share a funny anecdote about a clumsy neighbor, or a local legend about a haunted ruin just beyond the village fields. These tales reinforce a shared identity, reminding everyone of who they are and where they come from. They are the glue that holds society together. As the fire begins to burn lower, the shadows in the room deepen. The storyteller's voice might grow softer, the pace of the narrative slowing. The tales often end with a lesson to be remembered, a simple truth to carry into the next day. The children, lulled by the warmth and the rhythmic cadence of the voice, are often the first to drift off to sleep, their dreams perhaps filled with the nights and spirits from the stories. When the last embers glow and the tale is finished, a comfortable silence returns. The darkness outside the small cottage is now absolute, deep, and profound. It's a darkness filled, not with fear, but with a sense of finality, a signal for rest. One by one, the family members find their sleeping places, simple straw pallets on the floor. The fire, now just a bed of glowing coals, continues to offer a faint warmth throughout the night. This nightly ritual of storytelling was the primary form of entertainment, education, and social connection for centuries. It was a world without the distractions we know, a world where the human voice and the shared imagination were the greatest treasures. It's a powerful reminder that long before we had technology to connect us, we had the simple, profound magic of a story told by firelight. A world where the day was governed by the sun and the night was a realm of profound stillness. Imagine a small village nestled in the rolling hills of the English countryside. The sun has set, and a deep, velvety darkness begins to blanket the land. The last embers in the hearths are glowing, casting soft, flickering shadows on the walls of simple wattle-and-daub homes. The people, their bodies tired from a long day of physical labor, are settling down for the night. Their lives are tied to the rhythm of the seasons, the cycle of sunrise and sunset. In this world, the night isn't just an absence of light. It's a different state of being. As we stand at the edge of this village, let's listen. What do you hear? At first, it might seem like nothing, but as your ears adjust, a subtle symphony emerges. The gentle rustle of leaves in a cool breeze, the distant hoot of an owl on its nightly hunt, the soft bleating of a sheep nestled in its pen. These are the sounds of nature reclaiming the world. There are no engines, no sirens, no electronic beeps, just the ancient, organic sounds of the earth breathing. This is the soundtrack of medieval life after dark. The roads that lead out from the village are now empty and dark. In medieval times, traveling after sunset was a rare and often dangerous affair. Without streetlights or well-maintained paths, the darkness held real perils, both real and imagined. Bandits and outlaws were a genuine threat, but so were the simple dangers of stumbling in the dark, losing your way, or encountering a wild animal. The night belonged to those who knew its secrets, and for most villagers, the safest place was behind a bolted door. The world outside their small circle of firelight was a vast, unknown territory. These fields are the heart of the community. They are where life is sustained, where generations have toiled under the sun. By night, they are a place of quiet contemplation, a vast canvas painted in shades of silver and black. A gentle wind whispers through the tall grass and the bare branches of the trees, carrying stories from the past. It's a sound that has been heard on these fields for thousands of years. This profound quiet allows you to feel the pulse of the land itself. It's a rhythm that we, in our modern world, have almost entirely forgotten. This stillness isn't empty, it's full of peace. Another day in medieval England has drawn to a close. It was a day defined by the arc of the sun across the sky. It began with the first light of dawn, calling the villagers to their tasks. The hours were marked not by a clock on the wall, but by the position of the sun, the ringing of the church bells for prayer, and the rumbling in their own stomachs. Life was a routine, a cycle of planting and harvesting, of mending and making, of birth and death. It was a life of physical hardship, yes, but also of deep connection to the land, to the community, and to the passing of time. This day was much like the one before it, and it will be much like the one that follows.